All right. Welcome to SB Nation's Brace the Hammers first episode of our predictions for the Premier League. Each week we're going to come to you with our EPL predictions while we keep score of each other, and we also like to bring in guests from week to week from our different sister blog sites. Today we have Shourjya, who is actually an Arsenal fan.
Well, my name's Shourjya. I tell people it rhymes with Georgia, which is
Shourjya, perfect.
the European nation or the American state. It works for both.
Shourjya,
Yeah,
I can work with that. Awesome. And you are an Arsenal fan, isn't that
I
right?
am. Yeah.
All right, shame on you.
Yeah. Okay. Coming from a Tottenham fan who's managing a West Ham site.
All right, relax. I think we put that Twitter campaign to rest.
The leveling out. Yeah.
The hashtag labeling out that went away. And we also have Charlie, who is a real life West Ham fan. And of course, I'm Jonathan, your friendly neighborhood, constantly disappointed Tottenham Spurs fan. Welcome, everybody. All right, so let's kick things off. First up, we're at Vitality Stadium, where Bournemouth is hosting Tottenham, and let's see where we're at. Who wants to kick things off here?
I feel like given both of your allegiances, you should maybe talk about it first.
Yeah, I think Bournemouth's going to repeat what they did last week and beat them 6-1. But no. I'm kidding. I think Bournemouth's going to give them a fight because I do really like what Eddie Howe's set up. But Tottenham are a class above them, so I'm going to go 3-2 or 2-1 Tottenham. One of the two.
So Bournemouth's actually only won one of their last 9 matches against what would be considered top flight London sides. They've drew 2 and lost 6, and they haven't beaten anybody yet.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say this, I think Tottenham have got a very good team together. They've spent a lot of years sort of floating below the sort of top teams, and now they finally built a squad with some signings. I'm still not sure how they've managed to pull off, like Lloris and Eriksen, and I think they're a really good team. So I'm going to go with a 3-2 win to Tottenham.
I just want to put on record that I have a West Ham fan and an Arsenal fan all picking my boys to win this weekend. It's music to my ears. I love it.
Yeah, don't get used to
I
it.
just want to note that Lloris is the truth, man.
He is. Did you see that save?
Yeah. I did. So I watched. Was he man of the match? I don't know, but he's just.
He was, I believe. Yeah.
He's just amazing, and so is Son. I mean, I think the injury to Harry Kane.
It's left a window open for him.
It's actually, yeah. I was gonna say, like, I was
he
talking.
Almost left in the off season. So
yeah, I think he almost went to Wolfsburg.
Yeah, he wanted to go back to Germany.
But so I think
the
injury to Harry Kane's really opened up opportunities for like Janssen to get confident in the side. Heung-min Son's really come into his own, winning Player of the Month, and some of the goals he's scored, man. Oh my God, his rise is really reminiscent, or not reminiscent, but it's almost a parallel to Roberto Firmino, because I think Firmino, when he first came in, everyone's like, oh, really excited, and then didn't really perform up to the level that he was supposed to, and now he's really coming on. And same with Son, where both of these players, they kind of had like not their greatest freshman seasons, but now as a sophomore, in the Premier League, they're really picking it up, and they're playing to the level that these teams wanted them to play to.
Yeah. So look, I given what happened in Germany during the Champions League against Bayern Leverkusen, I really feel like they had their chances. They didn't necessarily. And that's been a problem all year long for the Spurs is completing those chances and following through. So they need to be more clinical in front of goal. I think Bournemouth is a great team to play against right now. It'll give the Spurs the edge. They seem to always play a little bit better when pushed, and I think Bournemouth has the speed and the attack to push them. I just don't think they have the talent to match up. And at the end of the day, I think Spurs win here big. I'm going to go ahead and say 3-1 for the final score. All right, up next, we're at the Emirates Stadium, where Arsenal hosts Middlesbrough. I'm actually just going to throw this right at you, Shourjya, and this is your wheelhouse. Go run with it.
I haven't seen them perform this well in a while. I think the last time I saw them perform this well was at the end of the season 2 years ago. So the first half of 2015, when we lost the North London Derby, And then we went on a run of like 9 games before losing to Swansea in April. So, 7 wins on the trot, or 6 or 7 wins on the trot. Ever since Mustafi came into the side, we've only let in 3 goals, and those have come in the past. Those have come in, recently. They've come from Swansea, 2 we've conceded at Swansea, and Southampton we conceded 1. So besides that, we've been, sitting pretty. So I think I'm gonna say 2-0. Actually, no, I'm gonna make that 3-0. 3-0 Arsenal. I'll give you some bonus predictions. Goal scorers: Theo Walcott with a brace, and Alexis Sanchez, and Mesut Ozil with all 3 assists because to the health cares.
Wow. So 2 goals for okay. Fantastic.
2 goals for Walcott. Yeah.
Did you see Ozil's awesome recent photo that's been coming out since he scored the hat trick in the Champions League with his fantastic mullet when he was playing for Schalke? Have you seen that lately?
I did. I think me and a couple of the writers over at the Short Fuse, who I also write for.
I think they tweeted it out. I think that's how I saw it, actually.
Is that how you saw it?
Yeah.
Me and a couple of the other social guys who man the Twitter account. We, from our personal accounts, we were just having this Ozil gift battle, or we were just sending gifts back and forth with old stuff, because he used to play for Bremen back in the day, and also Schalke.
And derived for a whole number of reasons, but I think I've always been a big believer in him as a striker. Just because I think it's always seemed to me when I've watched him that the more time you give him on the ball to think, the worse he does. Whereas he's almost instinctively, just because of his pace, he can create so many chances up front. And I'm loving the fact that you're backing him for yet another 2 goals this weekend. I mean, I think what that take him up to 11 and 10 or something ridiculous like that. I can't see past an Arsenal win. I want Middlesbrough. I always want the promoted teams to stay up, just because I like that. And as a fan of a yo-yo team, or from a yo-yo team, let's hope that I like them staying up. But Middlesbrough just don't seem to have the defensive strength that they have done in the Championship, and like we saw against teams like Man City in the Cup as well. So I'm gonna go with an Arsenal 3-0 win, but I really want Middlesbrough to do something, but I just can't see it happening.
Yeah, I kind of agree, and I'm not sure if you're aware, it's actually Arsene Wenger's 67th birthday this weekend.
I did know that. October 22nd is...
Yeah, and he's never lost on his birthday, so I'm not sure I can go against that. But I'm going to say they put up...
Did you know that he's also never finished below Spurs?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm having too much fun.
I know, I feel like I'm going to be hearing that. I keep throwing out undefeated, but we just we keep going around in circles. So yeah, no, I'm gonna go 2-1. I think they'll put up a little bit of a fight. I think the Champions League was I'm not gonna say it was taxing, but it's always fun to travel. I think they're gonna win. I don't think they're gonna put on their best show, but I think we'll get out of there the 3 points. So 2-1 will be my final assessment. Moving on to Burnley and Everton. Charlie, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, right. I mean, Lukaku is an incredible striker. A day doesn't go past where I'm not annoyed that we didn't get him at some point. Being a West Ham fan, he basically has everything. He's strong and yet has the pace of someone a lot thinner than he is. He has great finishing. The movement is just on point, and I couldn't rate him. I think below the likes of Aguero and possibly Zlatan, he's probably one of the best strikers in the league. And I think he'll go on to be ridiculously big in the game, wherever his next move ends up being. If he leaves Everton at some point, it's going to be a big club and they are going to do very well. But for some reason, I've got this feeling in my head that Burnley are going to do well this weekend. I don't know why. I genuinely cannot tell you why, because it's just a vibe.
It's a gut feeling.
It's a gut feeling. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely it's one of them.
Let me read you what Ronald Koeman said this week. He said, "We would like to have more players who score goals. The players around Romelu need to show more productivity. We need to create more." Do you think that's going to affect the players at all, or do you think?
I think as a West Ham fan, what he needs to do is get Enner Valencia on the pitch, start showing what he's done.
Great idea.
You'd hope so. Ronald Koeman is a great manager. He really like what he's managed to do on a consistent basis is unbelievable, and he'll know the mind of his players. And if he says something like that, he knows it's because the people in the dressing room will react in the right way and get fired up by that. I've also seen him sort of not digging out Ross Barkley, but saying, "Oh, he's not a young talent anymore. He is a player. He has to perform," sort of thing. We can't. I almost saying we can't give him a free pass just because he's a young lad. And so he's clearly trying to fire in someone's belly there. I don't know whose, but someone's, probably Barkley specifically and some other people. But they're a good team, and once everything clicks for them, they're going to be a very good force. But like I say, Burnley, man, I don't know why. Now, I'm going to go with 2 on Everton, but I really think Burnley are going to do well this week. I don't just shout out to Burnley. Shout out to
Yeah,
Burnley.
no, I agree with that assessment. I think it's going to be a hard fought game. I don't think it's going to be easy. I think they're definitely going to put up a fight. They are playing a turf more, and Sean Dyche came out and he said there's absolutely no pressure on them. They've handled these occasions before, and they have a good feeling about playing there. So it should be interesting. Also, what's interesting is Everton hasn't. They've won their last 3 league matches against Burnley, and this is going back to like the 1970s. So I don't expect things to change. I think, like I said, it was going to be hard fought. I think Leighton Baines, he is still out, which is a shame, but I don't see that changing anything. I see Everton pulling it out 2-1.
Burnley are actually
in the
playing
match.
Everton at Turf Moor, so their home form over the past however many months, I think it was like 9, 10 months. I think they've only lost twice at home over the past like 9 months. So that, and also I looked up the ban, and Andre Gray isn't back yet. But if they had Andre Gray back, I would definitely be backing them. I'm still gonna back them, but by a smaller margin. I'm gonna go ahead and say. Actually, no, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna say 1-1. Stoke City 2-0. I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think ever since Mike Phelan was hired as their permanent manager, it's just been bad luck, and I don't know why. Because they were doing so well at the beginning of the season, they beat Leicester. They beat someone else. I forget who they played in the second week they played. I forget who it was. It wasn't someone great. And then they came so close to drawing against Man United, but then Martial scored in like the 91st or 92nd minute, and ever since then it's just been like absolutely awful for them. And Stoke has actually been the opposite. They started terribly, and they're doing well now. And I think Joe Allen's going to get another goal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Joe Allen is the is definitely the player to watch here. He's got 3 consecutive games with goals, I believe now, and that's a first in his career. You have to feel bad for Hull City here. You know, I mean they're I mean, if you look at their form, they've lost 6-1 to Bournemouth, 2-0 to Chelsea, 5-1 to Liverpool, 4-1 to Arsenal. You add those all up, it's what, 13, 17, 4, whatever it is, 17 goals conceded. And these were not just away matches; they were home matches. On the other side, Stoke has won their last match against Sunderland, which is of course no feat. But they drew at Man United, and they drew at West Brom, where everybody draws. So I think this has to be Stoke, and it's sad because
I
you
tweeted
wanna,
out
you wanna
after.
like Hull
So
City.
obviously, uh, right, Mike Phelan came in, and within his first game, they'd lost 6-1. Now, of course, that's not maybe a fair reflection on him. Bournemouth are a decent side, but they have been riding on their luck since they got promoted again. And to be honest with you, I'm going to go in maybe a bit hard here, but like their owner needs to leave. Their owner either needs to leave or change now, because otherwise Hull are just damned to be terrible. I don't want to say he's ruining the club, but he's really not
He's really trying.
doing. He's given it a good shot. So
Yeah.
when I look at them, I feel super sorry for Hull fans, because they're going to be sitting there. You know, the whole City Tigers thing happened.
I was just gonna
What,
mention that. I was like, wasn't
like
a couple of years ago they tried to rename the club?
Yeah.
yeah, like the owner tried to rename the club, and when it went against him, he just went, "Fine, I'm not like whatever. I don't care anymore." Like their badge doesn't have any names on it anymore, specifically because of that. I mean, their owner doesn't understand what he's doing, and when you looked at how thin their squad was coming into this season, it just reinforces the fact that something needs to change there. And I can't fully obviously blame Mike Phelan for that, but something really does need to change there. And so I can't see past Stoke win, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as Bournemouth had it. I think 6-1, they're going to have to, it's going to be a defensive display and it's going to be full on. We cannot let this happen again. And so I'm going to go with 1-0 Stoke. But the whole fans, you have my sympathy because I do not want to be in your shoes right now.
All right, we're headed to King Power Stadium where Leicester City's hosting Crystal Palace. Yeah, not the same Leicester City we saw last year. Wes Morgan, Jamie Vardy, and Andy King did not train this week, but they are expected to play. What do we think? What do we make of this? Crystal Palace has got some nice weapons, and Leicester is playing at home. One of these things has to come to a stop, right?
Do you know what? Someone I don't know. I genuinely don't know. They're really.
I'll say this: they're unbeaten at home. So, at worst, are we looking at a draw?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've got them down for a 1-1. But
I think Benteke is going to get off the mark this weekend because he couldn't do that against West Ham last week, and that really frustrated him. Adrian or the penalty that he missed right on the stroke of halftime. Like that's still got to be niggling away to him.
yeah, as a striker in form, I mean, missing that will have dented his confidence massively. And for the only thing on his mind going into this match will be, I need to get a goal.
Yeah,
And then once those goals start coming, then the confidence starts flowing, the play starts flowing. You start to be a lot calmer about it. But leading into this, all he is going to be thinking about is goal. And Alan Pardew will know that, and he will be thinking, right, we need to get Benteke a goal now, and we need to do it fast. Unfortunately, they're coming up, like you say, Leicester are very good at home. It's not going to be easy. They've obviously got a strong defence. They're stoic, but they've been leaky. So we'll see. That's why I'm saying 1-1. I think Benteke is going to get the goal. But I honestly, predicting Leicester this season is going to be terrible for everyone
it's
involved.
It's going to be difficult. They're not the team they were last year. I'm actually going to go with a crazy prediction here. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be difficult. I'm going to go with a crazy prediction here, and I'm going to say that everybody's surprised. I think the home streak ends. I believe Crystal Palace will sneak 2 goals against Leicester. They just have a pretty strong squad with their attacking power right now. I really like Zaha. I like the matchup. I think between Benteke, Ledley, it's just a lot, and I'm not sure they can put off all that. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. All right, now we're taking it over to Liberty Stadium where Swansea is hosting Watford. Yeah, I mean, this is a particular interest to U.S. fans. Of course, Bob Bradley coming off of his loss at Arsenal, but he put up a fight, 3-2. It was a structured result. It was a good game. What do you make of this, Shourjya? I think this is right up your wheelhouse given last week's performance. What do you think?
Okay. Well, Swansea have just been our bogey team in the past couple of years. We lost to Gary Monk when he was there. He did the double over us. Last year, we lost to them at home at a very crucial point in the season. When we were you're right in the thick of things. We'd just beaten Leicester. And I don't think that you should take that performance into account when you're judging Bob Bradley as a manager. Sure, he did some stuff, but I think Arsenal are just, in terms of who was on the pitch, 9 of the 11 guys that Arsenal fielded, they have been playing for a while. Besides right. Mustafi, besides Xhaka, I guess Iwobi would be another exception. So 8 of the 11 guys, they've been in the team for the past 2 years.
Yeah, they're middle table. Look, they're not bad. They've beaten Borough 1-0. They drew with Bournemouth 2-2, and of course they beat West Ham 4-2, and we'll probably get to that later. But the most interesting victory here would probably be 3-1 over Man United. and they have great attacking form. They'll take teams by surprise. I think they have flair. I mean, you can be the most expensive team on the pitch, but if you get caught on a bad day, a team like Watford will absolutely make the best and maybe get 3 points. Now, to be fair, on the other side, Swansea, they've kind of been the table's been unjust to them. I know they're at the bottom of the table or second to the bottom, but they've had to play some of the best teams in the Premier League in a row. They put up a fight against Arsenal where they lost 3-2. The week before, they lost to Liverpool 2-1. The week before that, they lost to Man City 3-1. I mean, you're talking about some of the top 5 or 6 teams in a row, and it's tough to run into. So I don't think the table justifies the talent that Swansea has. I mean, and if you look at what what's his name? If you look at what Walter Mazzarri said, he said Swansea have already shown that they're playing much better. They played very well against Arsenal. They are a good team and deserve more points than they have today. So there's clearly some kind of mutual respect going beyond these two teams. Yeah, and I guess if I had to put a score to it, I would say this probably ends in a draw 2-2. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a game with a lot of action, a lot of attacking power. I think both managers really want to win. I'm going to dub this as my fun game to watch of the week. So definitely catch that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that too. I'm maybe not 2-2, but I think Watford has some very good offensive players. They brought in Amrabat was great. Dini and Igalo had a great season last year, and
monster season.
And I think someone who's very underrated. I don't know how highly rated he is, but Valen Barami. Barami, I think, is very good. He scored for the Swiss in the European Championships over the summer. He's just a quality player. He's I don't think he's playing at a club. I think the club he's playing for is below his level. Honestly, I think he can do better at other clubs. So I think those guys are really going to create something.
Yeah,
and
they have Mr. Underrated and Troy Deeney, right?
Yeah, seriously, and Igalo as well. We really can't get that.
Charlie?
Yeah, I again as I love Valen Brahmi. He's a former West Ham player, but yeah. I always looked at him as a guy who was super unfortunate to be playing in the team he was when he was with us, because we were terrible. And I always thought he was brilliant, and then he went on to play for bigger and better teams and prove just how good he was. I want Bob Bradley to succeed in the sense that, obviously, you guys, live and work in America, so you've got that American pride. You want to see Americans succeed in Premier League. But there was this pervasive feeling when he came in that was like, oh, he's an American coming here. Has he really done that well? Lots of people looking at, because most people, being honest about it, most people from this country only know him from his time as US manager and not as his time anywhere else he's been.
I think he's also Michael Bradley's dad.
Right. There's that as well. With, shiniest head in football. But everyone would look at his time. They would just click on his Wikipedia article and look at his, and I'm not blaming them, because you can't know every manager in the world, and he's not been at the most high-profile clubs of late and high-profile nations of late, and so we'd only know him from the US. But there was this weird cynicism to it, as if he could not succeed just because he is an American, and it's not. It's just the way it was. It felt weird, and that could be just me picking up on weird vibes, but that's how it felt. So I really want him to succeed, and I think signs were really positive coming out of Arsenal. I really enjoyed watching that match. Like you said, I think this one I've gone for. So to be clear, I've said Swansea 1, Watford 0, but I think that's not going to reflect. In my head, I can see it playing out as that's not going to reflect the sort of match it is. I think we're going to see counter-attacking, quick football. I think it's going to be end to end, and I think they're just going to nick it at the end, and it's going to be this huge sigh of relief. But as you said, I really like Watford as a team. They're a club which shouldn't work, but for some reason they do. Their turnover is insane. Like the players that come in and out constantly. I don't know. I think the season they got, I can't remember what the number was off the top of my head now. The season they got promoted, they had essentially rejuvenated their entire squad within a year and changed managers twice and all this other sort of crazy stuff. Like there's no stability, and yet somehow they still continue to work. And part of me says it's down to the hard work of the players on the pitch, but I don't know how it works, but it does. Like I say, they've got good players. Barami, Troy Deeney, who I'm in love with, Odion Igalo, Daryl Yanmat. They've got a lot of really good players there.
Roberto Pereira as well. Pereira.
Oh, Pereira, flipping it, Pereira. Talk about a player I wish went to West Ham. Oh my lord, that boy
right?
is
Rather
talented as all
awesome.
hell.
All right, and with that, we're moving over to Anfield, where Liverpool is hosting West Brom Albion. Yeah, talk about boring and Tony Pulis, Mr. Boring, in my opinion. I don't enjoy watching West Brom play, and I don't mind admitting that, especially after last week where they played Tottenham. I know people are talking about the Man U Liverpool game being dreadfully boring, but I would nominate that game as well as being equally as boring. I mean, you have Ben Foster, who's playing like he's the best goalkeeper in the world, but my brain's telling me that can't possibly be true. I mean, this is Ben Foster we're talking about. He's playing out of his mind. So, yeah, I mean, we have Wijnaldum coming back for Liverpool, and it should be interesting. They should probably pick up the attack, and I would expect Liverpool to come out big and beat them here, let's say by 3 goals, 3-1, 2-0, something like that. But we've said that before, haven't we?
I mean, you call him the king of boring, the king of like boring matches. I mean, whenever you looked at the Premier League the last couple of seasons, you'd say who are the two managers everyone doesn't enjoy watching, and it'd be Big Sam and Tony Pulis. And at least Big Sam had the decency to have a decent like jokey personality about him. Tony Pulis is just unbelievably boring to watch. I was in despair just watching the highlights of Spurs West Brom. I was in despair.
I was in despair watching the game.
I can imagine.
And watching it live was horrible.
He was talking about like snatching like a point, and I'm like, dude, you were in the lead at home. Like, go have mild ambitions, please. But they have a decent player at least in Chadley. I like Chadley a lot. Former Spurs player, so again, hurts me to say it. But
I feel like we've been saying that a lot today.
Yeah, it always hurts me when I have to praise anything to do with Spurs. To be fair, but yeah, I like Chadley.
Boat, Charlie.
Yeah, well, we can, we'll just be in pain together. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll wait till the match and then we'll beat Tottenham and it will be jazzy again. Yeah, I like Nacer Chadli. He's a good player, but I don't see much else in that team apart from just setting up very defensively and being kind of solid about it. I think Liverpool are going to run riot all over them because Jurgen Klopp is my favourite manager in the league outside of Slaven Bilic. So I'm going to say 3-0 to Liverpool.
Okay. I guess it's my turn. I agree with that sentiment. I think outside of Arsene Wenger, I like Slav, but just Jurgen Klopp has got that personality to him. I like Slav because he's very like rock and roll. Like he's
he is. I think they're very similar. They're both sort of like, you can almost see. I mean, Slaven Bilic literally is in a rock band, but you can see them in a rock band, and like, there's that video going around at the moment. I don't know if either of you have seen it on the Liverpool official channel of Jurgen Klopp going to play bowls with some old people in Liverpool. And for those of you American listeners, you might not know what, but I don't know how big bowls is over there. Bowls is a game primarily played only by old people, in like retired people who have nothing better to do. Listen, I like bowls, but
I'd love to guess the amount of people googling what that is right
now. You will be underwhelmed. I'll warn you now. But yeah, he just goes and plays a very, not dull, but a very calm, quiet sport, which is like the antithesis of what he is in my mind, with a bunch of like pensioner Liverpool season ticket holders, and he's just unbelievably nice. I love him.
He's a nice guy, yeah. I think last week one of the reporters' phones rang during the press conference, and he was just the jolliest person. Whereas someone else would have, like, Mourinho would have, flipped, I don't know, freaked out. But I don't know which one of you it was, but I think it was Charlie. You said that besides Chadley, you don't see anything coming from the side. But
yeah.
I actually do think that Salomon Rondon is pretty decent. I think he's
Yeah, okay.
pretty decent. I like Johnny Evans, even though Wenger got a lot of stick for going after him over the summer. I don't think Man U should have let him go. Um, and as Jonathan said, Ben Foster is just killing it at the moment.
Yeah.
I like that kid, the Scottish kid. What's his name? Matt Phillips. He's good, man. He's straight out of QPR, which is of course in the Champions League. It's kind of where you earn your stripes for a lot of these Matt Phillips type players, and it gives him a sense of grittiness, a sense of fight. And he was the only one making moves last week against Tottenham, and of course a lot of it was for naught. But still, it was someone doing something, which is good to see. Going back for a second to Tony Pulis being the king of boring, do you guys want to guess how many times Liverpool has actually drawn against West Brom in the
Too
last,
many.
let's say, 6 matches? 4 times, and that includes each of the last 4. So that if that doesn't tell you everything,
I was
I don't know what will.
just before I say my prediction, I would like to note that to me the master of boring is Jose Mourinho, and
Fair.
I'm gonna go 2-1 Liverpool.
All right, so we're going to move over to, of course, the Etihad, where Man City is taking on Southampton. What are we going to make of this? I mean, Man City, do we call that loss embarrassing in the Champions League against Barcelona, or do we call it disappointing, deflating? What are we doing? Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like you kind of feel bad for Southampton, right? I mean, they're like the kid in high school who keeps getting bullied every time he's got $1. Someone wants to take it away. I mean, he had they had Pochettino and gone. They had Ronald Koeman and gone. They had all these players and just gone. And for some reason they're still around. I mean, how are they doing this, right? I mean, how they keep going on? If you look at it, they beat Burnley 3-1. They drew against Leicester. They beat West Ham 3-0. And of course, they beat Swansea 1-0. And these aren't the best teams, but they've got they're 3-1-0 in their last 4 games, heading against Man City, which is really kind of down on the down. I don't want to say down on their luck, but they've down in their form. They lost 2-0 to Spurs, and that score could have been way higher. And I'm not just saying that. They just did not look like they were playing well. And against Everton, they drew, and then of course they lost to Barcelona. So. Where do they go from here? What's the situation?
I'll tell you what, man. It's
Yeah.
Dusan Tadic.
Okay.
Dusan Tadic is the Mesut Ozil of Southampton, and he's just providing, and he makes other players look good. That's the thing. And I was fortunate enough to meet him over the summer, and he just seems like a very down to earth, humble guy, and he just goes about his day, and sets people up on a silver platter. And to be fair, Charlie Austin's also having a good year. But I really think it comes back to Dusan Tadic, and maybe I'll give some credit to James Ward-Prowse.
I mean, you talk about Pep being a genius on Adderall. What do we think about the game, real quick, about against Barcelona? I mean, he didn't start Aguero, and of course Yaya Toure. Is Yaya done? Is this it? Is this the last time we see him in a Man City uniform? I mean, with everything that's been going on in the media, the discord with the African Player of the Year and the agent coming out and saying all these things about not starting. Is this it? Is this the last we see?
I think leaving out Torre was a good move, but I think sometimes he just takes it too far. With Aguero, leaving Aguero out, playing Nolito up front, I don't like that.
He basically got in it. Well, reportedly and allegedly, he got in a hissy fit because he was not given a birthday cake for his birthday.
That's awesome.
Not that he can't afford maybe 15,000 of them with his own money, but losing to Barcelona in the man they did would have hurt them a lot. But of course, I mean, they had a red card. It wasn't entirely, their fault, but you can't. City have been fantastic this year, and they're coming together as a squad almost capable of starting to challenge for Champions League on a regular basis.
Yep.
And it's been slowly getting there. They bought the right players. Pep knows what he's doing. I mean, Nolito was a guy who I liked, but I think coming in, everyone was like, wait, who, what, how, what? Like, if you weren't tuned into the Spanish game in any way, you wouldn't have been too aware of him because he wasn't playing for one of the big clubs.
He's playing
And
very well for Celta Vigo.
Exactly. And you should know, but it's one of those things where you go, no, wait, what? And yeah, he's coming and just being like, hit the ground running.
Yep.
You know, Sterling hit the ground running this year. So many players who you would have looked at and gone, wait, why? I haven't. And I think Yaya Toure being left out is really, you just look at it, you can see it now. Bruyne is continuing to be just butter through,
He's the key.
like a hot butter through.
He's the one who puts us all together.
Yeah,
exactly. City are the. I don't think it's going to be as easy as either of you said. I think it's going to be 2-1. I really rate Southampton, but City are going to win this. I don't come hook or by crook, they are going to win this. But City at the moment obviously have a hugely multinational squad.
In their starting
Yeah.
lineup, I believe John Stones and Sterling are the only two English players.
Yeah, and there's a lot of not dislike for the way Pep got rid of Joe Hart, but there is a very ill feeling about
Yeah,
that.
what a weird situation. Such a
He's the only guy. He's the only guy who could have done that, though. There's no one else who could have done that.
who got away with that. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with that. Joe Hart is seen as a perennially disappointing goalkeeper from an English point of view, but he's still very much an English goalkeeper, and we like him for that. And so Pep getting rid of him in the manner that he did, basically, essentially saying that, you know, the way England treats and raises and trains their goalkeepers isn't up to Pep's standard. And there was a lot of hate over that. Personally, I understood perfectly what he meant, especially when we look at, you know, West Ham have a goalkeeper like Adrian, whose distribution is all over the shop all of the time. I think that I understood it, but there was a lot of ill feeling over that. And to go, oh, we'll bring in Claudio Bravo from Barcelona. He knows how to pass. He knows how to play in the continental way. And so there's that. But you can't deny Manchester City are fantastically, I don't want to harp on about it, but they are a really well-run club. And they finally got their man in the manager they've always wanted since the takeover, and going to do incredibly well. But like I said, I don't think it's going to be as easy as either you think it is. I think Southampton are going to put up a very good fight, but I think Manchester City are going to be too much for them. 2-1 to Man City.
All right, moving on to what many are people calling the game of the week. I mean, this is what we've been waiting for. This is what the papers have been writing about in the off season. This is what everybody's been speculating. It's the return of Jose Mourinho. We're at Stamford Bridge, Chelsea and Man United. A lot of people have accused Jose of not really utilizing Man U's potent lineup in an effective manner, saying their attack has been boring, it's been stagnant, it's been lacking. On the other hand, you have Conte with Chelsea, who's been a little more creative, though probably not playing as well as they would have liked. If you look at their last few games, Man United has been thoroughly disappointing. They had, of course, that boring draw against Liverpool, where they were away and it was 0-0, and then, of course, they drew with Stoke, of all teams, 1-1. The only team you could say they've really beaten up on was against Leicester, who hasn't really been playing well. I mean, we spoke about how they lost to Watford 3-1, and then on the other side we have a Chelsea team that's been playing better as of late. They beat Leicester 3-0. Everybody's beating Leicester right now. They beat Leicester 3-0, and they beat Hull 2-0. But of course they've had their bad moments where they've lost to Arsenal 3-0. There you go, Shourjya, and as well as Liverpool and drew against Swansea. So. It's interesting though. If you look at their last meetings within the last 2 years, there hasn't really been more than 2 goals, or 1 goal, I should say, scored on either side. In fact, the highest scoring game, you have to go all the way back to January of 2014, where Chelsea won 3-1. So, and the last win in the last 2 years has been back in April of 2015, where Chelsea won 1-0. 1-0 with Eden Hazard putting in the winner. So it's historically not the most exciting game. I know there's a lot of press and there's a lot of writing and there's a lot of stock put into it, but are we going to be disappointed here? Is this another drawn out game? What do we think?
Shourjya, you can go first.
Okay. I think Chelsea are going to win it. I think when I think of Jose Mourinho, I think of a man with no emotion. But I think if he ever cared about something, it would be Chelsea Football Club, and I think he won't have the metal to do it. And also, Chelsea are doing really well at the moment. Ever since they lost 3-0 to Arsenal, they have Diego Costa's banging form, and I forget who else is playing really well, but they have a couple guys who've really stepped up in the past couple of weeks. I think Willian's been good, even when they were really bad last season. He's just been consistent and good, and Hazard's playing better, right? But I think it's just Diego Costa who's just
It's mostly Costa, yeah.
yeah, it's mostly Costa who's just we talked about schoolyard bullies earlier, but if there ever was one. So I'm gonna go 2-1 Chelsea, and I'm gonna be very happy because I don't support Chelsea, but I relish a Jose loss, and I'm gonna look forward to another one this weekend.
I think I think this is the game Zlatan has been waiting for. He seems to always step it up under the big spotlights. He loves that big game. I think this is where he shows up. I'm going to give it to 2-1 Man United. I don't like seeing either one of these teams win, so I guess in the back of my mind it's an awful game. I'm hoping, and it's like 0-0, and nobody feels like a winner. That's the ultimate win for me. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the billing is going to come to fruition. I think it's going to be not exciting, but I think it's going to be tense. And I think Zlatan's going to do what he's paid to do, and 2-1 Man United.
I think it's going to be 0-0. I think it's going to be disappointing. I don't, despite their they're gaining momentum now. I don't think Chelsea and Conte have quite figured it out yet. I think there's still something missing there. To me, they don't feel like a side who are. Maybe it's because in my head I'm so used to seeing the Chelsea of Mourinho's first stint, and to an extent just after that, where they could become rampant. Even if it was just racking up 1-0 wins, they would do it with such a problem that it would just be almost expected. But I don't quite see them there yet. I'm not quite convinced by them. And in the same way, I'm not convinced by Man United either. I think Man United have a lot of very good young talent. And Jose Mourinho seems to actually be using them, which is something I would not have expected to say at the beginning of the season. But I think they're two teams who aren't there yet, and maybe Chelsea slightly less, but I think they would both be happy enough to take a draw. Jose, I don't know how he's going to be feeling, because I think in his head he is a Chelsea fan. But
yeah. And of course, the moment we've been waiting for. We're going to London Stadium where West Ham's taking on Sunderland, and this is an interesting match. I mean, coming right off the Big Hammer victory, where they played well, they seemed to be more fluid. Everything was kind of clicking for them, and the scoreline didn't show it. But I think it was felt on both sides who earned the 3 points. But let me read you who's still injured, right? So Andre Ayew, he's returned to training, but he's not playing. Andy Carroll, Masuaku, Torre, Sacco, Sambiram, and Cresswell, who's suspended. So none of these players are available. These are 6 players who can be in the lineup at any point. So what do we do here? What are we looking for? What are the keys to this match?
Wow. The big thing is position. Is formation. How we're going to with Cresswell back, the formation seemed to work last week very, very well, especially in the first half. However, I'm not sure we can play the same formation without the dedicated, unbelievable left back that is Aaron Cresswell.
Yeah, he was absolutely a game changer. It seemed to take the pressure off of a lot of the other players around the pitch. You were able to move the ball a little bit more. It was definitely more fluid, especially in the first half. There were a lot more attacking options. I feel like when you don't know Antonio's on the field, that's a good game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and he was playing deeper, so he was obviously going to be less bombastic as he usually is. But Cresswell ran that game from the start until he got sent off. And I mean, how do you two think the formation is going to look? I think we'll move back to a back four, but I honestly can't tell.
What did they
I
play?
think they have to.
Did they play? What did they play? A 3-5, 3-5-2-1 last week? What did they? Oh, sorry, a 3-4, 3-4-3. Is that what they played last year?
I
I
mean,
think it was 4-4-3 last week, I believe.
Are you sure?
in my
Didn't
head, I saw it as 3 centre backs and then 2 wing backs.
Yeah, it looked like even though I think Ogbonna played. Who else was it?
It was Ogbonna at left centre back, Reed at centre back, and then Kouyaté
Yeah.
at
Yeah, Kouyaté played
right centre
back, right? Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. I don't know because Pedro Obiang has been playing really well the past 2 weeks, so I don't see him being left out. And with a midfield of Payet, Lanzini, um, Kouyaté, Noble, like where is the? There's no room for him. So the only way you're going to have Obiang in the side is if you push Kouyaté back, and like they might play 5 at the back. They might push Masuaku. And,
I mean, if you look forward to the next coming weeks, all those names I mentioned that are on the sideline, what do they say? Competition breeds success, right? I mean, you can make a case for every single one of these players to be in the starting lineup, if not all 6. So, what does this do? Do you think this this type of competition is good for the team, or do you think it's something that will hurt in the long run?
West Ham right now is that the depth in the squad is huge and everyone is of sort of equal level. There's been a lot of talk about the transfer window, and I personally thought it was a very, very, very good transfer window for West Ham, but it was clearly a squad built for European football as well as Premiership football, because we essentially could field 2 11s who are of equal quality. Like, you obviously have a bit of drop off here, like a bit of a worse left back here, or a bit of a worse right back here, or whatever, but they are essentially of equaling quality. And it's almost a blessing in a way that there are some injuries, just because it makes the selection slightly easier. Maybe I wouldn't mind having 1 fit left back in the squad. That would be nice. But it's really difficult to pick. I've been a big proponent of leaving Kouyaté out the side completely. I think his positional sense is unbelievably bad. That may be a bit harsh, but I think he just wanders. He can drift out of a game like no player I've ever seen. He can go missing for an entire 90 minutes.
There were people recommending him for man of the match last week, though.
I would disagree with those people, but for me, if you're playing, for me, like I said, I'm not sure if we can play that formation again, just because we wouldn't have a dedicated left back, and I think that made it work quite well. Because Aaron Cresswell just provides balance in going forward and backward, whereas Antonio doesn't quite get that yet, because he tracks back very well, but it's because he goes forward with such aggression that he needs to track back very well. And so Cresswell provided this balance to the team, in my opinion, of course, that we don't have now because he's out. So I would personally go for a flat back 4 with Ogbonna shifting to left back, and then I would Kouyaté then stays in the team because you have Reed and Kouyaté. But to be honest with you, even after last week, I would still put Reece Oxford ahead of Kouyaté at centre back.
What about a 4-1-4-1? You think that might work for them? A back 4, keep Kouyaté as like maybe a holding, and then having our 4 midfielders pushing forward.
If we were to play a 4-1-4-1, I would play Obiang in the holding role, and then have Noble and Lanzini in the central positions in front of him. I wouldn't trust Kouyaté's position. Kouyaté, when he goes forward, he doesn't. The thing is with I'm going to say this about Kouyaté. He has all of the attributes physically, be an absolute beast. He is like, and I mean this in the nicest way, and it's a very Britishism, but he is a Poundland Yaya Toure. He is the cheaper version of Yaya Toure physically. He runs. He just does not stop. It's unbelievable, his engine. He looks gangly as all hell. I don't understand how he's a bit like when Peter Crouch gets tackled, he goes down like 15 times because there's so much of him to hit the ground. It's like that. He's gangly. He moves around weirdly, but he just goes and doesn't stop going. It's unbelievable. But
he's like
his position.
from Mighty Ducks 3.
I mean,
Mighty Ducks reference for you.
Bang. Nailed it first time. but he doesn't. He's a centre back by trade. He was trained as a centre back. He knows a centre back, and so when it comes to his positional play in midfield, he doesn't have it. When it comes to his passing play in midfield, he doesn't have it. He can brush past, sprint past, power past 3 or 4 players in midfield quite easily, and then it comes to a simple layoff at the end, and he just can't do it. And in especially, so if we were to play a holding midfielder in a 4-1-4-1, for example, Obiang is the guy for me. Obiang can do everything. Obiang is the silkiest player, one of the silkiest players we have. It's ridiculous. I've been a fan of him since we signed him, but now he's got his chance. I'm just convinced of it. His passing is fantastic. His positional play is brilliant. His defending is great. He was brought in as like a sort of box-to-box midfielder, but just staying in that role, that more defensive-minded role in midfield, he's been fantastic. And I wouldn't drop him or move him out of that position for the world. I wouldn't even move him slightly forward. I would keep him there because I think he's the best player right now in form. I think Nordveit in the future, I would look at as being in that role. But for now, I mean, Obiang, you can't move him out of it.
Well said. Shourjya, what do you think?
Did
you give us a score prediction?
I didn't. I didn't. But I like Obiang as well. I think he's played really well the past 2 games. I think I already mentioned that actually earlier, so I apologize. But I think he was at the same club that Sampdoria. I think he was at Sampdoria.
He's at Sampdoria, yeah.
Yeah, and the names of some players from Sampdoria are escaping me, but I think Shkodran Mustafi, who's Arsenal's new signing, he used to play there too before he went to Valencia. So
bringing it back to Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to, but I'm I'm staying on topic. Obiang. So all I'm saying is like Sampdoria has quality players, and they've had. You feel free to edit this out, but I'm trying to think of what I haven't said at the moment, like because I know I spoke for a little bit before, but I don't know if I got all my points across. Kouyaté, the Kouyaté and Yaya Toure comparison, I agree with that, like fully. Like he is basically I don't know how he's so strong. Maybe it's just because he's so lanky and like his limbs are so long, but he can like hold someone off really well. Or maybe when he's like stiff arming someone, he's just like because of the sheer length of his arms, they're so far away from him that they can't get a tackle in. But he's just I don't know how he's just not playing well this season, and I haven't seen enough.
I disagree about Kouyaté. I think a lot of people thought he, including myself, that there was a case for him to be man of the match last week. He slipped into that defensive role in the center back fairly easily. And we published an article a few days ago about when Kouyaté was playing for Senegal. He told the Senegal press that he felt more motivation playing under their national team head coach than he did for Slaven. Now, I don't know if any backlash or anything like that that occurred from that statement, but you can see he really stepped it up and he cared about the game this week, and maybe that's something to do with him not having to make as many passes or control the ball in the midfield. But you could really tell like the passion was there, and that was something I was definitely looking for in the keys to the game. So I mean, with that said, I would take Ogbonna out. I would keep Obiang in. I would keep Kouyaté in the center back position, have him play defensively more, and I would probably go with a 4-1-4-1 if possible, especially with Cresswell out. So I expect a 2-0 victory here for West Ham.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's going to be 2-0. It has to be a win. West Ham, I think this is a huge game for West Ham. I think they need to start getting on a roll, start getting that confidence levels back up. It's a huge opportunity to do that, to face Sunderland at home after a good win against Crystal Palace, finally a morale-boosting win against Palace. I think this is massive. I think it's going to be 2-0, and I hope it's a comfortable one.
All right, well, that's it from us here at Brace the Hammer. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Really appreciate it. Check back in every week as we give our predictions. I think we enjoyed doing this, and we're going to have a guest next week from Cartilage Free Captain. So some of my Tottenham friends will be here. to back me up against this Shourjya character. So yeah, have a great week, and we'll see who's on top at the end of the weekend. Take care.